Alexander the Great was born here in Macedonia in northern Greece, in the shadow of Mount Olympus, the home of the gods. And the gods are as important characters in his story as he is. Zeus, Apollo, Hercules were real to him. He even proclaimed that Zeus, the king of the gods, was his father. This is not the tale of an ordinary person who thought in ordinary ways.
Αλεξανδρέ βασιλιά και μέγα Μακεδόνα. Αλεξανδρέ και βασιλιά και μέγα Μακεδόνα.
It's not surprising then that the young Alexander grew up with an unshakable sense of destiny. In the winter of 332 BC, Alexander surprised everyone. Instead of turning towards Persia, he left his army by the Nile and headed off with his close companions towards Libya. His goal was the distant oasis of Siwa and the famous oracle of Ammon. Siwa stands in the middle of the desert, but it's wonderfully fertile, miraculously so. Not surprising then that for so long people came here expecting miracles. For here on the sacred hill, the god Ammon, Zeus to the Greeks, was believed to speak directly to mankind. Alexander and his friends approached on the sacred way. They refreshed themselves in a pool known as the Spring of the Sun. It's still here. He set foot on the sacred path with Hephaestion and his closest companions, their clothes still dust-streaked from the desert. And what did he want to hear from the oracle? Arrian says his burning desire was not to ask about his future fate, but to find out who his father really was. The oracle shrine stands on top of the hill. It's perhaps the only place on earth where you can trace his footsteps right up to the door. He stood on this spot and looked in at the gilded barge and the strange gold statue of the god Ammon, whose eyes met his. Alexander stepped forward and asked his questions. The answer was delivered by the priests, written on papyrus, literally a letter from heaven. As they gave it to him, they greeted him in Greek as the Son of God. That was all he needed to hear. Alexander now hurried back to rejoin the army. I suppose the Siwa episode tells us that Alexander always journeyed with one eye on the here and now, and the other on eternity. I think he took the direct route east to the Nile, an epic journey in its own right. And it's in one of the lonely oases on this route that we found the first evidence of Alexander as God King.
The name of an Egyptian king, and of course Alexander, he is being considered an Egyptian king. So he would be the son of the good Re, then another cartouche that will have his name. You can just manage to see some traces saying Alexandrus. He's one of these people who lived very, very short, but he left his stamp not only on the history of ancient times, but on the history of mankind.